So this is a survey of Lawrence Weiner's work, and with a focus on a relationship with traditional Korean objects and traditional art.
Lawrence's basic raison d'etre was to make art for people that represented an aspect of their lives that would be communicative. Only the viewer can look at a Lawrence Weiner work and say which meaning it has. So it has multiple meanings, but all of it is based on the viewer. But the language, of course, stays the same. It's the static part of the engagement. And of course, all of these works had a meaning for Lawrence, but he chose to engage his language in such a way where it wasn't a direction, it was not a recipe for how to look at the work. You have to figure it out yourself. There are landscapes here. There are forces of nature. There's climate change. There's the sun over here at the end of the room. There are a lot of things that art generally is about. You can think anything you want when you come here. You can hate it or love it, or say, I don't need it today, and go home. Nobody will be any the wiser.
There are title cards that have translations, and those translations are there for the viewer to be able to fully engage with the work. But nowhere here will anybody tell the viewer what to think. They're all departure points. I would say that my understanding of Lawrence is of somebody who was deeply a humanist, and the way that he was able to make the most change in the world was through making art. You know you're an artist if you can't help making art. So that could apply to Lawrence too. Lawrence had a very concrete foundation in philosophy and literature, and logic especially. And I think in terms of dealing with language as a material, that was essentially a freedom, because it was a time where it's very hard to make art and sell art and make a living. Art supplies are very expensive, and it was a very political thing to say, to make art using what one would say is nothing. Because what is language? Where does it come from? And it could manifest in any way, from an action, a performance, a physical relationship of a human being to an object and an object to an object, right? It could be made, it didn't have to be made.
Very good, Kirsten. Valencia in Spain has small bull rings, and Lawrence had read the obituary of a woman who was probably the first female bullfighter, and he thought that was very, very captivating, and he conceived of this bullfighter as being under the sun, and the gesture underneath it was related to what a bullfighter does, which is with a flick of a wrist, you can kill a bull. Children in Valencia like to fly kites, so he also made a kite for the children. And this installation of twisted and turned with a flick of the wrist, you can fly a kite or you can kill a bull. That's where the original Under the Sun comes from. Yes, and Forever and a Day also was inspired by an exhibition in Spain, in Malaga, which not only was the birthplace of Picasso, but it was also a place it continues to be directly across on the Mediterranean, which is a body of water that held a very vibrant civilization until Asia was discovered by the colonial countries. And Malaga had a very vibrant Islamic community from hundreds of years ago, and suddenly there was the repression of the Catholic Church that destroyed or cracked it up, splintered it. And when Lawrence made a show there, Forever and a Day was also a condemnation when you were accused of a crime where you would be sentenced to life in prison in Spain. The judge, usually his wording to you, condemning you to life in prison was, and you will go to prison forever and a day.
So I have to interject to say that this is very doom and gloom, and you can also, that work doesn't have to sit in a political context. It can sit in sculptural context even, in terms of materials and
the foreverness of an artwork.
Yeah. So to see and be seen has to do with being responsible for understanding that if you see, you can be seen. There's a reflexive nature in the world, and that you have a responsibility as a human being to interact with those other human beings around you. I always thought of that work in terms of when you go to a party and you're very nervous about what you're going to say, until you realize that every single person in that room is nervous about what they're going to say, and probably, you are nervous amongst the other nervous people.
Lawrence made an exhibition in Anyang in 2007, and it was organized as, many artists came and made installations, and he was very sorry that he never got to come back. This is sort of a gift from your museum to Lawrence in a way, because he would have loved to have been here. And you're using these traditional Korean objects in this way, where you have these vitrines set up in the center of these two rooms. They have a presence that actually works with everything that's on the walls. He loved the Joseon dynasty. He loved that your emperor so many hundreds of years ago said, "I'm going to make a new alphabet." And so here we are with a new alphabet in the midst of a culture that has beautiful graphics already, but here it is on all the walls. You can see if it fits into your life or it doesn't, and make your own answer for yourself. So this is what Lawrence wrote in his notebook, and I think in a grand sense, it applies to this exhibition as well. So I'll read it. The sculpture stands as an open-ended question of how far our existential responsibilities extend. Within the stream of life, which essentially is the level of water, are the possibilities to accept the reality that the sun does not revolve around us. Perhaps it is necessary to move objects to find a place in the sun. The relationship of human beings to materials, in giving dignity to materials themselves, empowers the user of the work. The purpose of art seems to be to present a logic structure that allows us to exist within the realm of other objects and enlarges the possibilities. Is the significance of this exhibition for its viewers, and they might relate to things that occur to you in your daily life. And daily life is something that's important to the individual. It's not the things that come from outside in. It's something that you take inside of yourself and you walk out the door with it. And it's your responsibility to do something with it if you choose to, or reject it if you choose to. So that's in my words.